you, like, this shows a political message. Would you like to talk about that?
I made a short film. I submitted it to short film festivals here in Europe, and I've been attending some of those festivals that it got into. It's a good excuse to get out of the house, visit friends and family, and watch some other short films in competition. How does it feel to watch your film in the cinema? Well, if you've ever made a film, you'll know that by the time it's finished, you know that film like the back of your hand. Even so, it's a special experience watching the film on a big screen with good sound quality and with an audience behind you. It's a bit scary. When my film comes on, I get a nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach, like starting a roller coaster, because there's a vulnerability that comes with making a film and showing it to people. It's like a show and tell where you stand up in front of a bunch of people and you say, this is what I believe in. This is something that I've carried with me for a long time, that's very close to me, that I really care about.
You guys. The film that I'm here to introduce is called Immersion. It's a 2D hand-drawn animation. Everyone asks me how long it took. It took me over 2 years to make 4.5 minutes of animation, 2D. So don't blink. If you blink, you miss a day or two of hard work. I did a research trip in Bali. Best research I've ever done. That's where it started, and then it took me on an adventure, and I found that I had more to say. So I don't want to talk too much. Thank you all for being here, and I'll hand you over to...
I'm with Howard Wimshurst, and we'll talk about his film Emersion. So first, I would like to talk about the aesthetic, the whole aesthetic of your short movie. It is animated, and I think it's the only one in the selection, so I was quite impressed by seeing it on the screen. I think it presents a surfing competition during which the protagonist, one of the competitors, meets like an underwater sort of ocean spirit, if I'm correct. And I was just wondering about how much time did you take to create this movie? How were you inspired to talk about this that way? We will dive into the subject after, but just about the process and the image of it.
Oh, where to start? Firstly, I think maybe a reason why it's the only animation here is because animation is quite a difficult medium, especially when it comes to portraying water. So that was a very big challenge for me. I don't know if it's a challenge for every animator, but I found it very difficult to actually make the water look wet.
Yeah.
So I think that's a reason why we don't see more surf animations. Every time a character moves or the waves move, it requires redrawing the character.
I think that it's really interesting how you represent the waves, because you use quite geometrical shapes, and we have many lines that are curved and stuff like that, and I think it's quite original in the process because you manage to represent it quite dynamically but still keeping this poetic tone, and I think it's quite impressive. So my question was about your inspirations and what encouraged you to create this movie.
Well, firstly, I wanted to portray something that actually felt like my experience of surfing.
Okay.
So one of the rules I had for myself was that it was how it feels to surf on waves and not necessarily what literally happens, which is why you have things like the hand that comes out as a wave. That's like how it can feel to be grabbed by a wave. Through my own understanding and my own education through the media, I didn't realize that surfing was a really difficult athletic sports. I actually thought it was going to be, ukuleles and palm trees and
like in Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch, just chill out, sit back and enjoy yourself. And it's really not that. At least I come from England, and I was surfing in England for research, and it was tough. And so my first intention was I want to actually show it as being an intense athletic sport. And that was my first intention. So my first version of the film, I guess, in my head that I made, a guy who was like, how hard can it be? And going out onto the waves and then just getting battered by the waves, like a washing machine.
Yeah, okay, I see.
And experiencing the rush of the water, the bubbles and the seagulls and all of the senses. Mm-hmm. So I started with that. From there, it developed into this story, and I found that I had more to say. Running parallel to this in my life, I was learning a lot about marine wildlife and the threats that they're under by these systems, these human systems. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that, and I found a way to bring that in to that theme.
And you create my transition, so it's perfect to my next question. So firstly, I thought as just as an outside spectator that it was going to be about an impossible love story between the spirit and the surfer. And then we are quite in shock about what you talk about. This shows a political message, a strong one behind it, and it's quite impressive. Would you like to talk about that? How you managed to create a testimony about pollution and in a strong and sensational way?
Yeah, so something that I feel is my job to do as a filmmaker is to betray the audience's expectations. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually trying to trick you.
Surprise.
Yeah. I'm a treacherous filmmaker. Okay, good. We actually want to lead you down false pathways which will at first align with your biases or your current education, what you know about film. For example, the folklore of the siren, luring someone down to their death. Some people thought it was going to be a horror film. You thought it was going to be a romance film. So I constructed it to lead you down that way so that it would be a bit of a surprise when it's actually about this other thing. And I was thinking about they're representing more than who they actually are.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It's up to people what they want to describe
Interpret,
it.
Yeah.
But for him, perhaps he could represent competitive young people, resourceful, resilient people and the potential that they have. So these are themes that I'm very interested in exploring.
So again, you made my transition. It's so smooth as an interview, but at the end, so the surfer goes back to the beach and he's helped by the spirit, and it's all of that was a sort of parenthesis because we have again the crowd, the sound that overwhelms him, but we notice that something in his glance has changed. Is it a bit of your purpose that you try to convey to us this message and change maybe the way we see things? Because it's he acknowledged something that he never knew about, and it's really interesting the way you put it in a subtle message, just drawing something different in his eyes, and I thought it was quite impressive.
Thank you.
That's
very well observed, actually. I found I didn't need it to be a grand gesture. Working with the medium of short films, maybe a character can't change in such a small space of time, but you can show an inflection point. You can show an experience that might lead to a change in their character. It's about that moment and what it did. Was that a turning point in his life? Sometimes the subtle things are the hardest because just before that scene, there's a scene where it's just crazy and it's fast. And some people are really impressed by that scene. But animators, they might confess to you that those scenes, you can get away with a lot in a big, crazy shot, but you can't get away with the same kind of things in a subtle turn of the head, just looking from one thing to another. So I knew I had to get it right. It's the end of the film as well, so you got to end on something important because that's what people remember.
Yeah, but we noticed that you really worked on his facial expressions, with the eyebrows and a much darker mimic. I don't really know how to put it in words, but it was quite like on point.
I need to actually give credit to Yanni Puska Wimshurst.
Yeah.
She actually, I took the shot to her because she can draw faces much better than me.
Yeah, okay.
And so I actually got a second opinion, and she actually did a draw over and helped me with that. And that just kind of shows that animation is usually a collaborative experience. And I did most of the film, but there are some scenes like that where I thought, I need to get this right.
Yeah.
And so she was really, really helpful in just making sure that expression was, it's one where he's processing a lot.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot that just happened, and you can't experience it as you're going through something like that. It's only afterwards where you can actually reflect on what happened. So that's the other thing I wanted is give a little bit of time before the next film in the festival rolls on, for not only him to think about what's happening, but also for the audience to process what happened, because it's quite a fast-moving thing that happened.
But the movie provocates that, because at the end we were a bit in our heads and like what just happened, and it was quite interesting to be in the same position as the surfer. And it's what you said, he's like a sort of prophet to ourselves and to our acknowledgement of the situation.
Yeah.
So I believe it was really like creative but also efficient in the message you translated to us.
Thank you. I mean, that is something as well, bringing up efficiency reminds me of the process of creating it, because every shot in animation costs a lot in time and labor, and so I had to take away shots that I found were not important enough to keep in, so that it was very distilled down, because I mean it already took me so much time.
You had to choose.
So and I find that distillation process to be good, because what remains is like, I've thought about it a lot and I'm like, no, this shot has to be in there, you know, it's important.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so that was it. That was all my questions. But thank you so much for your time, and it really like gave us a lot to think about. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, that festival was really cool. I watched some amazing movies about skateboarding and surfing, which was so cool to learn more about the culture. I do want to explore the city a little bit, so I'm walking a little bit of the journey, and then I'm gonna take a lime bike back to the hostel. On a bunk bed in a hostel, and it's pretty fun. It feels like a little adventure. Anyway, that's my update for the end of the day.
Il paraît qu'ils portent ton nom et que tu peux pas les voir. Ton histoire est bien plus que celle d'une vie. Tu ne comptes plus les erreurs que tu aimerais oublier.
I had to push it and look what came out. I got all of this when I pushed it.
Je continue de t'aimer.
Nice. I got soda, I got an onion, I got a soda.
Ouais. Ok, c'est là. Voiture
Next
17.
day,
Ok, je me mets là.
going to the cafe.
Je laisse derrière moi la capitale. Et dans 2h15, je poserai un pied dans ma ville natale. À chaque fois, je passe un peu de vent et je pense déjà à la prochaine fois où je ferai tourner les éoliennes. Sur le côté, les pylônes défilent, les bacs, la mesure. J'écris entre des lignes à haute tension et sur un ciel d'azur. Je laisse derrière moi les abbesses et le 18e. Et droit devant, Naonet, dans 2 heures à peine. J'écris au dos d'un magazine sur une pub de fringues.
This thing is big.
Ça me rend dingue.
I'm at the Louvre, guys. I'm at the Louvre.
Plein Alexandrin. Il poinçonne et on reprend notre train.
One for me, one for Brandon.
Mais j'arrive pas à voir ce qu'elle lit. La place 42 parle, mais j'arrive pas à entendre ce qu'elle dit. Je laisse derrière moi mon petit amour.
Let's rob it.
Et on est déjà à mi-parcours.
I shouldn't say that. Security, please don't. No. It's alright. I want to see the Champs-Élysées. That's the Eiffel Tower. Oh, I can't zoom in. But it's over there. I've seen it. Done. There he is. Ember. A film I made in 10 days. Got it onto the judging sheet. Nice.
Und nicht sofort von
I find it's a really important part of the creative process to see your work being enjoyed by others. It brings closure to a very long, uncertain, and at times exhausting journey. And there's something special about watching a film with other people in a dark room. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. If the only time you've been to a cinema is to watch blockbuster movies, I highly recommend looking up local short film festivals in your area, because the experiences I've had around them are really special. And I think if you're going about this in a way that doesn't at times make you a little bit uncomfortable, you're doing it wrong. And I'm talking about life. If you're going through life without moments of uncertainty and discomfort, you're probably not living hard enough.